wahr. Statistically, this is when things collapse.
Proud Arts.
Nice.
Mount up.
You did it! It's a miracle.
Shut it.
Congratulations. You are the winner this year. You put on a good show. Your reward awaits. You earned it. We hope you will return next year. You are free to go. The chopper is waiting to take you home.
I'm rich! Awesome! Ashley!
You idiot! You finally answered.
Yeah. Sorry, got a little, tied up.
Ricky Ray, if you make one more joke, I swear I'm gonna drive this phone into your forehead.
It's how I cope.
With what, exactly?
You're not gonna believe this. It was like Squid Game meets motocross inside a meat grinder. No, scratch that. It was like Hunger Games, Gladiator and Mad Max got drunk and built a racetrack.
I might have signed you up for some underground motorcycle competition. The flyer said massive prize pool, and you were complaining about being bored.
Bored, not suicidal. It was a giant guillotine.
Okay, well, that wasn't on the flyer.
But hey, they weren't kidding about the prize, babe. We are filthy rich.
Wait, what? Like, how rich?
Oh, like buy your dream house, 10 dogs, and an indoor hot tub shaped like a dolphin rich.
Then shut it down. Grab the cash and haul that beautiful butt back to base.
I'm on my way.
I'll be in the bedroom, wearing that lingerie you accidentally bought me. Twice.
The red one?
Oh, honey, it's showtime.
Can you go any faster?
ticket, huh? You sure you want to know how it ends? I rode every inch of this nightmare too. You know, I never won this thing. Got close once. Real close. But I didn't win. Good luck, Ricky. Hope your ending's better than mine.
Thanks, Krusty. Hey, Mike.
Hey, glad you made it. I've been waiting for you. You've come a long ways. You've finished the game, made it through the credits, and here you are. You're a fantastic gamer. I'm John Daniels, the developer of MotoTrials. In this bonus video, you will see what the game looks like behind the scenes. What you're seeing here is the game inside Unreal Engine 5. The game uses streaming levels. The first level that loads is called the persistent level, and it's always loaded. The streaming levels are automatically loaded when the player enters them. See the glowing boxes with the labels over them? Level 1, Level 2, Level 3? Those are volumes. As the player enters the volume, the level is loaded. In the Levels panel, you can click the View icon to show or hide a level. Let's fly in to get a closer look at the level. Any object that you see in the game is called an actor. This particular actor, this box, is what's called a static mesh. In the content browser, you can drag a new box into the world. You can use the gizmo to move the box, to rotate the box, and to resize the box. Everything in the world is made up of triangles. Let's change the view to wireframe, and you can see all the triangles in the world. Looks like the Matrix. If you look at the ground, you can see it's made up of triangles. And if you look at this box, what you would think would be a square, it's actually made up of triangles also. Let's drag a sphere into the world, and you would think it would be round, but if we zoom in and get close, you can see it's actually made up of triangles also. The reason they use triangles is because they're the most efficient to process. Let's take a look at another type of actor. The static mesh actor is like a rock. It doesn't do anything, it just sits there. If you want some kind of logic or for something to happen like you see in the puzzles, you will use a blueprint actor. Here's a simple blueprint actor. You probably remember this section at the beginning of the game. As you approach the concrete pipes, you automatically duck. And then when you get to the other side, you automatically stand up. Let's take a look at how the code works. We're inside the blueprint actor, and we're on the viewport tab. On this tab, you can see any components that are put into the blueprint. If you look to the left under the components window, right now we have box, and you can see it's highlighted. These collision shapes are used a lot during game development. Let's look at how the logic works on this box. The player comes into the box and overlaps the box. If you right-click on the box and go to Add Event, you'll see On Component Begin Overlap is already there. So if we click on it, it'll take us over to the event graph. This is where you do your programming using these nodes. When the player enters the box, this pin will execute on this node. And the first node that it will activate is a branch node. This is one of the most used nodes for flow control. It's either true or false. So the first thing it's going to ask is, whoever overlapped this box, do they have a player tag? Is it the player? And if it does have the player tag, it executes the true pin. If it doesn't, it's false and it doesn't do anything. So for instance, if another actor entered this box, it wouldn't do anything, only if the player enters the box. The next step is it's going to do once, it'll only do it one time. So when the player comes in, if it has multiple overlaps, well, it's only going to overlap one time. It's only going to do this one time. It's going to get the player, then it's going to disable the jump, so you can't jump while you're in the concrete pipe, and then it's going to crouch the player. And when you leave the box, the opposite will happen. On component end overlap, so when they leave the box, it's going to get the player, stand up, and then it's going to enable the jump. That's the basics of a blueprint and of how the logic works. We'll take a look at one of the puzzles so you can see how the logic can get more complex. The good thing about these blueprints also is once you create one and you have the code, if there's another spot that you want the player to auto crouch, you can simply drag in the blueprint and resize it to how you need it. This is one of my favorite puzzles. It's a tribute to a great game. Do you know what game this came from? This is the lift puzzle, and it seems pretty simple, but some of the complexity is when this platform moves out, and if this lift hits the platform, then it has to reverse and come back down. Let's take a look at the code. Here's the viewport. You can see all the components that make up this blueprint. Here's the two lifts, the switches, and you remember how we talked about the collision boxes. You can see more collision boxes inside this blueprint. Here's the event graph, and this shows all the code, and you can see that there's more code in this one compared to the auto crouch. Because the additional logic, there's a lot more execution wires and nodes in this blueprint. And some people refer to this as spaghetti code because of all the wires. The code can look a little overwhelming at first, but when you break it down, it follows a logical path. For example, if you're on the lift and you want to push the button, first the blueprint has to know, are you near the button? And it does that by looking to see if the player is in the overlap box that's positioned by the button. In the content browser, you can see the switch to. If you go to add event and then on begin overlap, you can walk through the code, and just like the auto crouch, the first thing it's going to do is check and make sure the actor has the player tag. And if it does, then it's going to enable input for this blueprint, and then it's going to set some variables. Let's take a look at one more blueprint, and then we'll do a fly through of all the levels. The blueprint that we're going to look at now is called the player controller, and this contains all the logic for the checkpoints. One thing that you may have noticed when you were playing MotoTrials, when you first open the game, you go directly into the level. It doesn't take you to a menu. This was by design. If you've ever played a game where you load it up and you have to go through a labyrinth of menus just to start playing, it can be frustrating and time-consuming. If you have limited time to play games, you want to jump right into the action. And you probably also noticed when you reopen the game after playing, it takes you directly to where you left off. I personally think more games should be like that. As you enter a checkpoint, it saves the information of the last checkpoint that you've entered. Let's zoom in here. And then to load a checkpoint, it'll move the camera system into that level. It'll use this code to wait for the level to load. Once the level is loaded, it will look for the checkpoint, it will set the location of the checkpoint to spawn the player or motorcycle, and then it'll spawn the player. And when you spawn the player, it goes over to this bit of code that resets all the blueprints, all the puzzles. It destroys any of the players, so the motorcycle or Ricky, the main character, it destroys them. If there's any blood anywhere, it will destroy it. And depending on this variable, if it needs to spawn the character, it will take this wire and spawn the character at the location that we set previously. Once it spawns the character, it will set this variable, letting the system know that the player is no longer dead. Let's take a look at the reference viewer. Everything in the world is related to everything else. It's all interconnected. So, for instance, this treasure chest, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is made up of a lot of parts. If we look at the reference viewer, you can see the references of this blueprint, this money chest. You can see it's referenced to every level, which makes sense because it is in every level. And to the right, you can see everything that's referenced to it. You know when you touch the chest, the lid explodes, and you hear a sound, and you see particles, and all of those are referenced here to the chest. Something else you might find interesting, the levels themselves have a size map, and this size map allows you to see all the actors that are associated with the level. And this is helpful to slim down your level if it starts getting too big. You can see at the very top, streaming level 001. So this is the first level with the shipping container. And you can see that this level is going to take up 402 megabytes, 402.3 megabytes of memory. We're looking at the memory right here. You can see in the top right, the memory allocation. This tool is useful if you're running out of memory. You can come in here and look and see if any actors are too big. For instance, here's the shipping container, and it's taking up 12.9 megabytes of memory. You can double click on it and it'll open the shipping container blueprint, and you can start breaking it down to what's taking up the memory. And you can see here the glass that's on the front of the shipping container is taking up 4.3 megabytes, and this texture right here is taking up 2.8 megabytes. Now you know the basics of how a game works. So the next time you're playing a game and something happens, you can think about those collision boxes. Let's do a fly through of all the levels. We'll set the lighting to unlit. It just makes it easier to see. And here we go. And this is a good view right here. You can see all the collision boxes. It's really quite amazing how many there are. Here's the gas level, or the gas puzzle. I really like that one. You have to be so gingerly with the gas. And here's where the alien fight takes place. And then this was the music puzzle. The music, or the sound, is Proud Art's logo sound. And here's the ending of the game where you get your money and take off in the helicopter. After you stayed through the credits, which is awesome that you did, I think. It's very cool. Not a lot of people do that. Then what happens is, as the credits is playing, you're transported over here behind the scenes. You don't see it. But the player is transported over here, and it starts to load this number 11 level. And this is the end level, or the bonus level. And if you go to the left, you'll get this trophy. And then you'll go through the movie theater. And then once you come down through the movie theater, you get towards the screen, and then we have a blueprint. And once you walk into this collision box for this blueprint, it automatically teleports you into this camera right here. And you'll be looking about right here. And this is where you start, and this is where you end. I appreciate you playing the game, watching the credits to the end, and making it all the way through this video. You're a true champion. Thanks for riding with us. Until next time.
Where am I?
You heading out?
Yeah,
Where to?
wherever the road leads, I guess.
Ride safe, brother.
You too, brother.